Hey folks, this is Mike with The Long Shot. Today we're doing an in-depth review of the DNT The One rifle scope, a relatively new 7-35 by 56 millimeter rifle scope that provides long range and ELR shooters a great option at an affordable price. We're going to break down the specs of the scope and then take it to the range to bang some steel at distance. I hope you enjoy. Let's go. First, please go ahead and click that subscribe button. It's a no-cost way you can help me get visibility on these videos on an anti-2A platform. If you're new to the channel, I love to offer shooting tips and product reviews from an honest perspective. I don't make any money doing this, and I don't have any allegiance to any companies out there. And I hope you enjoy this content that should help you put your hard-earned money in all the right places. Before we get into the review, I do want to mention that DNT did send this to me on loan to conduct the review. I have no commitment to them, kickbacks, or any other relationship with them, other than my general appreciation for folks that are willing to support the channel. Okay, so here we have the DNT The One. As of today in July 2025, this is retailing for about $770, but DNT does offer a 15% mil first responder discount. The DNT The One is a first focal plane 7-35 power variable power scope with a 56 millimeter objective lens. It has a 34 millimeter tube, which means you need a set of 34 millimeter scope rings to mount it on your rifle. You'll probably need a set of high or extra high rings due to the size of the scope. The one I have here is in mil or milliradians. It offers 30 mil total of elevation adjustment range, which, especially if you mount this on a 20 MOA base, should be more than enough to shoot over a mile or even past 2,000 yards with a standard 6.5 Creedmoor. It has dialing elevation and windage turrets and a pretty nice reticle that offers 2/10 mil subtensions on a Christmas tree style reticle. Another cool thing about this is that it does offer daytime bright illumination, which has a large portion of the reticle illuminated and not just the inner cross lines, which most other scopes that offer illumination are limited to. It has a parallax knob here on the left-hand side that goes from 25 yards to infinity, which will allow you to get the reticle focused up close for those of you that like to start your zeroing process at 25 yards, or maybe those of you that like to do dry fire practice at home in closer quarters. It weighs 42 ounces or 2 pounds and 10 ounces. It offers a zero stop feature, which is set by these two red screws up here on the elevation turret. Zero stops are a great feature that ensure you don't accidentally go down below your zero and end up shooting 10 mils low when you think you're actually on your zero. This isn't a real problem that I've encountered on my non-zero stop scopes, but it's always nice to have a little bit of insurance, especially if you're shooting extra long ranges and need to dial up more than one full revolution on your turret. It comes with a few standard accessories like a bikini style lens cover, a screw and throw lever, which I wish I put in because the magnification ring is pretty tight, and a sunshade. When looking at 7-35 power rifle scopes, there are really only a few other options out there. There's the infamous Night Force Attacker 7-35 by 56, which is a known powerhouse in the long range community, but that comes at a steep price tag of over $3,000. There's also a Leopold Mark V HD 7-35, which comes in around $2,500. And the most direct competitor to the DNT The One is the Arken EP5, coming in around $680. When looking at the Arken and DNT, you'll notice they are very similar. However, before I get to a direct comparison video between those two scopes, I really wanted to give a dedicated review to the DNT. Those are the main direct competitors, but close enough Vortex does offer a Razor Gen 3 in 6-36 power. That MSRP, however, is up over $4,500, although you usually can get Vortex scopes for way less than MSRP. Overall, I really like that we now have another option under the 1K mark that provides shooters a viable option to kit out a new rifle without breaking the bank. For those that are just getting into the sport and want to be competitive without dropping $5K plus on a total rifle and scope setup, or folks like me that have multiple setups and simply can't afford to put Night Forces and other expensive scopes on all of them, this increases the playing field and really brings some more great competition to the market. Alright, that's enough about the specs and market comparisons. Let's get into the actual shooter experience so I can share some of my thoughts on this. I shot this a few times on my Ruger Precision Gen 4 rifle. For this video, I was shooting 135 grain Berger Classic Hunters, going almost 2850 feet per second, which is pretty fast for a 6.5 Creedmoor. I did a few videos on load development for this RPR and was amazed that I was able to quickly get a load that shoots sub MOA. Depending on your religion that you subscribe to about group size and measuring a gun's capability, this gun shoots 3/4 MOA easily with 5-shot groups. So let's just call it a 3/4 MOA gun, which in my opinion is pretty impressive for a production rifle with minimal load development. As you'll see throughout this video, I didn't have a good ballistics app gun profile set up yet and was missing high a lot, but that's part of the fun of having a decent rifle scope, is being able to clearly spot your impacts and misses and get your gun profile set up accurately so that you can get effective firing solutions from your calculator from there on out. Shooting at the 100-yard line, I was clearly able to focus the reticle at 100 yards, even at 35 power, which is one thing that I really look for and rely on for my rifle scopes. The reason I feel this is important is that, well, first of all, I'm lazy and I love to zero a rifle without having to walk back and forth between the shooting bench and the target, or even set up a dedicated spotting scope to look more closely at where I'm impacting. Other than laziness, or as I like to call it, energy conservation, I do really think this is an important function for competitive shooters. I have had rifle scopes that won't focus well at closer distances, and that is a challenge. When you show up to a PRS match or at a public range, you may not even have the opportunity to walk down range when you want, or the time to set up a spotting scope. It's very convenient and sometimes necessary to just dial up the magnification on your scope and measure the adjustments you need to make with your reticle. Without fail, someone will say I'm an idiot for shooting on 35 power at 100 yards or even 700 yards, but the practicality of it is really important, and I hope I explained the reason why well enough. After zeroing at 100 yards, I walked my way out to 700 yards. Sometimes I held over and sometimes I dialed just to get a feel for the scope and the reticle. Both the reticle holdovers and the turret got the job done, and I really didn't notice the rifle scope at all while I was shooting, which is a great indicator that it's doing its job and not getting in my way. The turrets are very nice and have a good tactile feel to the clicks. The reticle is very clear and easy to use, especially with those 2/10 mil subtensions that I mentioned earlier. Overall, I had a super easy time getting the scope focused and found that the parallax was very forgiving, which is great and I really think speaks to the quality of the scope itself. You really don't want to have to be touching that parallax knob every 100 yards just to keep it focused, and I've noticed that lower quality scopes are a bit more needy in this department. One more thing I forgot to mention is that 35 power scopes, even if you're not shooting on 35 power, are a really good option for long range shooters because the field of view relative to the power that you are shooting is going to be greater compared to, say, a 5 to 25 power scope. For example, if you are shooting on 25 power on a 25 power rifle scope, the field of view will be tighter and the eye box tighter compared to shooting at 25 power on a 35 power rifle scope. That comes at the cost of size and weight, but for competition rifles or range rifles, that's not really a huge deal, and I think it's totally worth the trade-off. Okay, back to the scope. I was able to walk out to 700 yards while spotting my misses, making necessary adjustments, and spotting my hits to ensure I could record accurate data to get my profile set. Throughout this process, I didn't think the eye box was super tight, but I also wasn't shooting on 35 power most of the time. As I mentioned earlier, the higher the power, the tighter the eye box will get. That's for all scopes, not just for this one. The best thing I can really say about the scope is that I didn't really notice it at all. I was more focused on the shooting aspect and not messing with the scope. I don't know how to quantify that for you or explain in better detail, but all I know is that I could take this to a PRS match and probably just worry about shooting the match and not messing with the scope. The general perceived clarity is really nice. I don't feel like I'm looking through a blurry or low quality optic at all. My only gripe with the scope is that some of the knobs, like the Illum knob and the magnification knob, are really tight. As I mentioned before, you can put that throw lever in, which will help you move the mag ring, but there's obviously nothing like that for the illumination knob, and if you have sweaty hands, you may really struggle to move that thing. I don't know if these will loosen up over time, and I'm probably nitpicking here, but I thought it was worth noting. Overall, I really do like this rifle scope. The glass is made in Japan, but obviously the scope is made in China. However, we're really starting to see some quality rifle scopes coming out of China. I know we should be supporting American made, but honestly, this is hard to do within a reasonable price range, and there's not many American made scopes out there. I really like that there's another offering for 7 to 35 power scopes in the under $1,000 price range, enabling folks to kit out more rifles and not end up having to sell half of them anyway to fund their divorce once their wife finds out how much they spent. The quality of the scope is impressive, and I will likely leave this on my 6.5 Creedmoor that I use to shoot team sniper matches or team field matches. I think it's the perfect mix of practicality in reference to its dense feature set and usability with its nice, quality, and durable construction. I didn't once feel that the scope was getting in my way or keeping me from shooting well out to distance, and although I was only able to shoot this out to 700 yards so far, I don't expect that it wouldn't be as effective out to much further distances. I hope you enjoyed this review. I think this will be a good purchase to put on top of your long-range rig. If you have tried one out, please let me know what you think down below in the comments. If you hated this video or loved it or didn't even care, please drop a comment either way because that really does help the algorithm push the video out further, and that's always appreciated. Thanks for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed this review, and we'll see you next time. Take care.